Welcome to the Trailblazing Texas podcast, where we embark on a journey through our diverse Texas landscapes and breathtaking trails while always engaging with our amazing Texas hiking community. So settle in, tighten up those bootlaces, and get ready for the thrilling tales awaiting for you on this episode. If you kind of look at where you're at now, what does hiking and backpacking mean to you? I mean, I guess you would have kind of like the starting experience, like you went out, you started hiking and backpacking with a bang with the PCT. You've done some other incredible hikes, and then now, like, it would be interesting to get like what does it mean to you?
I think it's always been this way for me to kind of set aside society's expectations of me or like any external expectations of me and like really dig deep and connect like with myself. That doesn't sound I think when I look back on my hiking trips and experiences, I think they were all things that I persevered through no matter what challenges I faced. And sometimes I faced a lot of challenges, like carrying an 80-liter pack or getting hit by lightning or not getting, or well, I didn't get, but almost getting hit by lightning or not getting along with my hiking partner or, not being on my schedule, but I always knew that like I wanted to be there, I guess, more than I wanted anything else. And I think it means it's always just something that I've always really done for myself.
Yeah, and do you ever look back and go, I'm a badass?
So, not
like I don't know you before hiking, but I certainly hear Meghan, like for me it's like you're not a quitter.
Oh, thank you.
You're not going to be first, you're not going to be last, you're not going to quit, and you're just you're going to complete it, and
that's
do you ever just kind of look back and just say, either be at awe at everything that you've accomplished or just like, wow, I'm really a badass?
Sometimes I look back and I think I can't believe I did that. Like some of the things, like I can't believe I used to just find a spot in the woods in the middle of the night and be like, oh yeah, time for bed, and then just go to sleep there by myself and not care. Like, because I don't think I would do that. Like, right? I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like, I would love to do it, but I don't know if I'd be brave enough to go do that like this weekend. That takes a while to work yourself up to, and just the fitness and all the. No, I mean, I'm thankful that I kind of took that jump and put myself out there, and I guess in the world, because I'm really grateful. Obviously, that experience is something that still has had a huge impact on my life, and I'm extremely grateful that I got to do that and that I had that perseverance at that age and in those financial circumstances, which were a little tight. And so I made it happen. And I think I still see echoes of that in the person that I still am, which I'm proud of.
Yeah. And currently, when you're hiking, do you get the opportunities to have those solo experiences, or is it usually with family or friends now?
Usually it's with family and friends, and mostly it's with John. I don't. One thing, kind of just talking to you about all this made me reflect on this a little bit. But as far as hiking and backpacking go, I'm more of a big trip person than like a Saturday person. And so like hiking the PCT or doing the ptarmigan traverse, so like I get all into that. But like on Saturday morning when I've been working all week and then it's a drive to the trailhead and then you have to think about making dinner when you get home, like that's like a whole nother avenue for me, and I'm not as likely to go down it as there's a lot of people that are a lot more avid day hikers than me. I like it, but I don't it's definitely more I'm definitely more trip motivated. which always kind of makes me laugh when people are like, I can't believe you hike so far, or you're so because when you're when you're on the PCT, you wake up in the woods, so you have to you don't really have a
Yeah.
choice. You can't be like, oh, not hiking today. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I wanted to be there, but when you're on a trip like that, it's not like in a sense, you're choosing it. Like you're choosing that you're going to keep going, and that was always my choice. But that I felt really strongly about being there. But it is a little bit different when you wake up already on the trail. So it takes
Yeah.
a one step out of it.
So out of all the trips, the states that you've
Hmm.
been to hiking, what is your most favorite state park or national park that
Oh,
maybe the listeners that in your experience that you
yeah.
think is a must for them to
Um,
visit?
my favorite is the redwoods by far, which
Oh,
is
okay.
different than the PCT or Washington or Texas, but it's just the magic of the trees, how they're just otherworldly. Like I've been there 3 times, and every time I've been there, I've cried as soon as I got there because I'm so taken aback. Just that something that big and that's 2,000 years old and it's still alive, and you can put your hand on it and just be in the forest surrounded by them, and it's just like this magical place that I just can't get enough of it.
Really?
Yeah, I
Did and
love.
didn't you go not that long ago, a year or two
I
ago, maybe?
I went in. Oh yeah, John and I went in the
Yeah,
van in 20.
I don't think it
This
was
is the
that long
stuff that
ago.
John's really good at. He's like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, it was after COVID because Janie and
yeah,
I went in 2020,
yeah. That's
and
probably the trip
then
that I'm thinking about.
John and I have gone since then. Maybe 2022. It must have been the spring of 2022,
Yeah.
like April. Yeah, it was. It was April 2022.
So, what's your favorite
Spring
trail
break.
out of all the trails you've
Out of
hiked?
all the trails, I think I think I have. I mean, I feel silly not including the PCT. South Fork Eagle River, the trail that I helped work on,
Yeah.
is always going to be really special to me. And just on its own, it's a beautiful trail. There's these two lakes. It's quite a hike back there, but there's these two lakes called Eagle and Symphony, and one is glacier fed and one is rainwater fed. So one of them is like deep ocean blue, and the other one is like bright sky blue from
Oh
the
wow.
glacier. So they're right kind of next to each other, and so it's buried back in the Chugach Mountains, and it's amazing. Uh, it's all on its own. It's amazing, but it's extra special to me because I got to be a part of making it so that other people could enjoy it, which is cool.
No.
And then Chinook Pass is where I met John, and there's a little hike. It is technically the PCT. It's up. There's a lake called Sheep Lake up there. It's about a mile and a half.
Mhm.
And that is a really cool trail
And is it
as
because
well.
that's where that guy was following you?
Yeah,
That's why it was so special.
yeah. If anyone yells at you when you're there,
Yeah. Turn around because it may
yeah, turn around.
you may be getting
Yeah,
married in a couple
yeah.
years.
Um, yeah, but that also is, I mean, it's meaningful to me because I met John there, and
Yeah.
but it's also a great hike, great trail. Sheep Lake is a great place. A lot of people bring their kids. It's a great place to bring your kids camping. It's a great place for just a short trip. Yeah, there's lots to do up there.
So what do you think is probably one of your most memorable hiking experiences?
My most memorable hiking experiences probably the night that there was a night that I camped on the spine of the Goat Rocks in Washington. And it was when I was recovering. So this was before I met John, but after I had the shin splints. And I was recovering, but I was mad about my schedule. I didn't want to be recovering. And
Right.
so I took on too much. And the Goat Rocks is like you get to the bottom, and then you need to it's a spine. It's like a ridge walk, and you need to go walk over it and then get to the other side. And I I should have stayed at the beginning and camped there and done it in the morning. That would have been the wise thing to do. But I was angry and didn't want to stop, and so I kept going, even though it was too late to make it the whole way. I thought, oh, I can do it. When I got to the very top of the ridge, the sun was setting, which was beautiful. It was just stunning up there, but you shouldn't really be up there at that time. And so I'm walking along, and it's getting darker and darker, and I'm still on the spine, and a mountain goat. It's called the Goat Rocks. There's famously mountain goats around, and this male mountain goat came running up to me from up in this like little valley under the spine, and the sense that I got from him was that he was like the new guy in charge. There's like this little herd that he's supposed to be protecting, but it might be like his first day. So he's running up to me. Yeah. He's like, I'm in charge, but please don't mess with me because I don't really want to mess with you. And so I'm like, I didn't think I'm like apologizing to him, like explaining, I didn't think I'd be up here this late, and I don't want to disturb you. I'm trying to find a place to go, I promise. And he's like, okay, like, I'm gonna let you go. Just don't come bother my little herd of goats. Like, you got it, bud. And so
So you actually camped on the spine?
Yeah, I went only a little bit past the goat, and then I put my tent up on the trail, which you wouldn't really normally do that, but I didn't have anywhere else to put it, and I knew no one else was going to be up there because it's not a very wise place to be. And so,
don't worry, I only have about 1,400 downloads, so don't worry. No one will be mad that you camped on the trail.
Well, I wouldn't advise it, but I did do it. So I camped on the trail up there, and I remember just putting up my tent, which was freestanding, so it only takes like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. I saw 7 shooting stars.
What?
It was so clear and beautiful up there, and you could see the whole Milky Way just like stretched out across the sky. It was really, really pretty, and I was so tired. I lay in that tent has a mesh roof, like it has a rain fly if you need it, but when you just set it up, it's got like just mosquito netting for a roof, so you can see out it. So I remember laying there looking at the stars, going to sleep, and I did go to sleep really quickly, but but then I realized that the top of a ridge is a very windy place in the middle of the night. And so my tent was just blowing in the wind. It kept like at my feet lifting up, and so I put my backpack down there by my feet.
Not the 85
which you also shouldn't do. No, the 40. You shouldn't sleep with your whole backpack in your tent either, but
because of food and rats.
If it has food in it, and the mice will come get it, yeah. And but I put my backpack down there, and then the wind blew so hard that it lifted up, and it was a tiny hole, but it ripped a hole in the bathtub of my tent up there, which I still used it for the rest of the summer. It was fine, but yeah, it ripped my tent because it was so windy. But thankfully, it didn't like blow my tent over or anything. But yeah, it was really pretty. Yeah, yeah. It was a very beautiful place to camp, and the encounter with the mountain goat was entertaining, but it wasn't the wisest place to camp.
So speaking of tangling with mountain goats and in danger,
yeah.
What would you consider your most dangerous hike?
My most dangerous hike?
Or backpacking trip that you've been on?
The Ptarmigan Traverse.
Maybe? All right. So tell our listeners what is that? So I know it's in the North Cascades.
Yep.
There's no trails.
There's no trail. No, there's a bunch of alders. There's no trail. It's a mountaineering traverse, and Outside Magazine called it the most beautiful mountaineering trip in America.
Yeah.
That might not be exactly. It's something really close to that.
Yeah.
So what it is actually at the beginning there is a trail. It's an end to end. You start the way that we started. We hiked up the trail, and then you go off trail, and then there's a series of glaciers that you cross over passes, and then you come down the other end, and then there's some pretty severe bushwhacking, and then you meet up with another trail. So it's a glacier travel mountaineering
So whenever
experience.
hubby came up to you and said, "Honey, let's do
Let's
this
go.
ptarmigan
Let's
traverse,"
play. Yeah.
did you have any idea what
Um,
you were getting into?
no, I mean, no, I never done anything like that before. We tried to climb Mount Hood together a few years before, and so something I least recently learned is that I have sleep apnea, and I was undiagnosed for I I think most of my life, and so I've always
Yeah.
kind of struggled with. That's why I'm getting up in the morning and being tired and stuff. But so the Mount Hood we tried to hike it, and but I hadn't. We basically left home at like 7 p.m., got there to Mount Hood at midnight, and then start trying to walk up the mountain in the snow. And I was not feeling it because I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep because I was
Yeah.
too like getting ready to go do this thing, and then there's all the packing and I ended up being so overtired that I just cried. I was like, I can't do it anymore. And so we ended up pulling the plug on the Mount Hood. And so that was my only real like mountaineering experience, which wasn't even really an experience. When he wanted to do it with me, I wanted I guess I don't remember being hesitant, I don't think.
But
I
did you
remember
know what you were getting into? Because like
no.
you could die, like literally
No.
you could die.
I
You're out
mean,
in the
I
middle of
trusted.
nowhere.
Yeah. Yes, it was very remote, but that I mildly used to it. It was much more remote than the PCT. Being remote isn't, I mean, it's a consideration that you have to make, but it's definitely not something that's like a deal breaker for me necessarily, or it wasn't before I did the charm again.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think I fully knew what all it entailed, and I think that we had a rough go at it because we had a significant weather issue that we shouldn't have had in July. So
Yeah.
it was a little bit more difficult
So
then.
how do you remember how many miles it is?
It's actually not as it's actually not comparatively to the PCT. It seems like it's not that many, but off trail miles are way different than
Oh,
on
yeah,
trail
yeah.
miles because you have to navigate, and then it's just so much more effort just to
Oh,
put your
yeah,
feet somewhere.
you're it's all off trail. It's
Yeah,
um glaciated crossings.
yeah,
It's you know, you better be able to navigate, read a topographical
mhm,
map. Um
mhm,
then you get to a point that you ain't turning back. You have to keep
yeah.
going
You have
forward.
to keep going. Yeah.
All right. So,
Um.
and what was it, a 5-day trip, I think?
Yeah. About that. Yeah.
So, what were
Um.
some of the parts of that
The
adventure that you were
memorable
like,
parts.
"Holy crap." Like, so one thing that
Uh huh.
comes to my mind when I hear about this traverse y'all did was, Brandon's leading, so he's an
Yeah.
actual guide
Mhm.
that our friends that you are friends with.
Yeah.
He's leading the rope team, and when you're
Yeah.
roped up, that's already sketch. Like, okay, what are we doing that we have to be roped up? You're in
Yeah.
the middle, and then John's
Yep.
on the end, and
Yeah.
John's saying, he goes, "Yeah," he goes, I couldn't see Brandon for sure.
Oh.
I couldn't see Megan.
Yeah.
All I saw was the rope, and I just see that
Yeah.
it's being pulled in front of me."
Yeah.
And
Just follow it.
yeah, so like describe some of
That.
the 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 things that you experienced that you were like, "Holy crap."
One funny thing about that was when we were roped up because it was all kind of new to me. But I have a lot of I had a lot of trust in John and Brandon. I wouldn't have done that with just anyone. But we're all roped up, and I asked Brandon, I said, "How do you know where the crevasses are on the mountain? Like, how do you tell where we should walk?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know." Like, what do you mean you don't know? And he's like, "Well, that's what the ropes are for." I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, if one of us falls in a crevasse, then the other two will be able to pull him out." And so I was just like, "No more questions."
Are you
Like, I don't
serious?
need to know anymore. Yeah. But I thought that because he was calculating the route, like which direction should we
Right.
go, and it was clear when this all happened. But yeah, he in my mind he was like somehow reading the glacier and knowing where the crevasses were. So I'm like, how do you know what you're what you're looking at." And he's like, "I don't." And I was like, "Oh," because we're already up there, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it is an established route, and I mean, there was other parties up there also, so it's not like we were like Lewis and Clark. Like there was,
Yeah.
you know, but um,
And
another time we were hiking and we there wasn't a great way to get where we were going. Um, I think it wasn't quite a pass. It was like a valley. We were trying to cross a river, but there wasn't a great way to cross it. And so Brandon started to climb up a waterfall. He was like climbing up rocks that water is running down. And I remember looking at John thinking like, what? Like I don't want to climb. Oh, like I'm fine with going out and doing your trip with you, but like I'm not really trying to climb waterfalls. Like that wasn't really on my agenda of things that I was okay. But we ended up not doing that. We ended up finding a better way. So.
I remember this one story.
Uh huh.
You guys were, I guess you were crossing a glacier, and there was this, I don't know if it was raining or if it
Mhm.
had rained or if it was a melt, but it was like thigh deep of water just rushing down, and you
Mhm.
guys had to cross it, and you guys are all tied into each other, and I guess
Yeah.
John is belaying Brandon, and
Yeah.
Brandon just, I don't even know if at that moment like you heard or they involved you in, but Brandon looked at John and he goes, "If I slip and you can't hold me, just cut the rope."
I was unaware of that interaction. That all went over my head, which
Yeah.
is probably good. Um, I guess because I would have. But at that point, we had already crossed the glacier. We were coming down, and we were trying to get down to camp. And this storm had come in prior to us crossing the glacier, or while we were crossing the glacier, which was basically like a wintry mix. So it was like
Yeah.
snow and rain, which was very unpleasant. And so, like, imagine if you do you well, do you guys have ski resorts? Probably not really, huh?
In New
But if you could
Mexico.
imagine what one is like, it's just this mountain that's like a really big steep hill and it's full of snow.
Yeah.
So imagine going there and then putting on a 40-pound backpack and then walking straight up the ski resort's face. And now it's snowing and raining on you, but you can't go anywhere else. You're stuck. Like the even if the only possible way you could get out would be a helicopter and they can't come get you anyway because they can't see you.
So
So there's literally no other choice. You're walking up the hill.
you're frozen, you're wet.
Yeah, I didn't. John experienced a great deal of cold, and I say I was too angry to be cold. There's like
Yeah.
steam coming out of my ears because I had a misunderstanding because this trip the nature of it is a little bit extreme, which I get and like I'm okay with it. But I thought that like they thought that this was like cool to be in this situation, and this is like which it's not cool. No one thought it was cool, but in my mind, I thought like they're like, oh, they wanted this trip to be really extreme, and now it is. And I was just really mad that they like brought me there, and then to do this cool thing, and I was like, this is not cool. This is terrible, and I want to go home.
So as
Um,
you were hiking, you were Googling
yeah,
divorce lawyers?
yeah. That's the only. Speaking of yelling, that's actually the only time I've ever like full on just yelled at John. Like I don't know why you would bring me here. Um, this is terrible way to spend a vacation. I'd rather do anything else. And I was gonna sell all my stuff when I got home, like my backpack, I was like, I'm done. I'm never doing this again. This is too. I didn't want to do it anymore. And
Wow.
that's never, um, I've never the entire PCT. I never had. All I wanted was more stuff. I never wanted to sell it, and I never had that feeling before of like I'm out. But the Ptarmigan was a special
And was that
experience.
the trip that you guys experienced that one lady that was on, or girl that was almost
Yeah,
hyperthermic, and
that was
Brandon
in
had to
the
kind of step in and say, dig a hole and
yeah
y'all take, get your body together and we'll try to build a
yeah
fire and
Well, they had stopped. It was that the wintry mix was going on, and we're walking up the snow on the glacier, and they're at the top. And Brandon and I both were cold, but we weren't like dangerously cold. John was dangerously, he was probably at the very beginning stages of dangerously cold. He was definitely suffering. And then this other group, there had probably 7 or 8 people in it, and one of their girls had gotten dangerously cold, and so they stopped. And yeah, they had trying to huddle up and heat her up, and Brandon was just telling them, like, do not stay up here. You need to get down. Like, you don't want to be up here in a storm because you're all going to end up dangerously cold if you stay here. And so they did end up making it down, and she was okay. Thankfully, everyone was okay. But yeah, it was definitely a curveball because July isn't a common time to get wintry mix thrown at you in Washington. Even in the North Cascades, that was unexpected.
So how was a car ride home?
It was, we were hungry. No, everything had been settled by that point.
Okay.
It wasn't, I didn't stay mad because I realized that it was kind of mostly a misunderstanding, that they weren't a lot happier with the situation than I was. Yeah, but no, it was really, they were great. They were, they made it as fun and nice for me to be there as they could. Yeah, and they were super nice to me. And we, on the way out though, there's no trail, and you come down off the last pass, and then when you're going through, you have to go through these little alder trees, and they're so thick that I don't think you could even lay down. Like, if you fell, you wouldn't even go anywhere. There's so much, it's like walking through a jungle of alder trees.
Oh man.
And so we went through that together, and then once you get out of that jungle, then you get on the actual trail, and then you feel like you're cruising because now you're in the woods on a trail, like you can get right home. And then I just remember being very hungry, and we all got food on the way home. And yeah, but no one stayed mad. It was just a little high intensity for a few hours, but yeah, it was overall good.
Any other dangerous hikes that you yelled at John about?
Angel's Landing.
You said Angel's Landing?
John and I did Angel's Landing, yeah.
How was that?
It was very terrible.
What
I
time
mean,
of year
it's very pretty, but it was Christmas time.
So you did it in the winter?
It was in the snow. Yeah, it was snowing.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
Yeah. No.
Did you have crampons?
I don't recall. We probably had micro spikes. But no, we didn't have full on crampons.
You're walking on snow and ice, holding on to a chain in about 8 inches of trail. And exposure on both sides.
Yeah, yes.
Oh my gosh.
And exposure is not my favorite thing.
What is he thinking?
Well, we hiked up there, and then we're like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my, like, I didn't know, because in my mind, Angel's Landing and hiking aren't really the same thing. Like, Angel's Landing is like a scramble, which I know technically it's not because of the chain.
Yeah.
I think, but it's not really like, it's not, because it's not really like hiking.
People die hiking Angel's Landing.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be very hard.
In the summertime when there's grip and there's...
Yeah. It was once we got done, I had such an, like, adrenaline rush. I just sat down and, like, cried because I was so overwhelmed. I was like, that was really scary. But
did you yell at him? Is that the second time you yelled at him?
The Ptarmigan Traverse was we'd only been married for like a month when we did Angel's Landing. Yeah, we've been married for 1 month.
What in the heck did I get myself into? I can't believe he took you there in the winter.
Yeah, Zion was really beautiful in the winter, but Angel's Landing in the winter is not my cup of tea.
Was anybody there in the park?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, people were there. We also did Observation Point, which was very beautiful. I think there might be some sort of maintenance going on with that trail right now, but it is really cool. The other stuff that we did, we went and saw Bryce Canyon. That was really cool. Like, it was a good trip, but Angel's Landing is definitely more of an
So
adrenaline.
you were white knuckling the chains.
Yeah. Yeah, because I
Oh
mean,
yeah, right.
technically you are safe, but you don't feel safe because
Yeah,
and if you mess up, then
you're
you'll die.
dead. So
Yeah.
speaking of beautiful stuff,
Mhm.
what do you think is the most breathtaking view you've ever encountered while
While
hiking or
hiking.
backpacking?
Um, Clouds Rest at Yosemite was extremely beautiful. It's like
Yeah.
you're above Half Dome in the Yosemite Valley and you're looking down at it, and
Oh
it's
wow.
just really really beautiful. Um and you can also hike it from the top. So hiking up from the valley floor is real. It's 3,000 feet. It's really hard, but
Hmm.
you can also come at it. I think it's called Tuolumne. You can come at it from that way, which is easier, but you still have the same view. That's always the first thing on my list of most beautiful places. The John Muir Trail uh, is
I heard that was
famously very
spectacular.
beautiful. Um, yeah, Mount Rainier, very beautiful.
Yeah, we've hiked.
Alaska is yeah.
Me, you, John, and Lori, we've hiked in Rainier, and
Mhm.
it was absolutely breathtaking
Oh yeah, up at Paradise.
and emotional. That was
Yeah.
very emotional when we got to
Yeah.
top of Paradise. John
Yeah.
and I have some
Oh.
dangerous hikes, and John took me up trying to make it up to the Muir snowfields and
Yeah.
going up this thing like this, and he's
Mhm.
trying to teach me how to French step, German step, Italian step, use an ice axe, and we get
Yeah.
like halfway up this snow hill, but to me it was a
Mhm.
mountain, and I said, "I'm turning around," but I didn't yell at him. I just
Sometimes you
said,
just gotta yell at the yeller.
"Yeah, yeah." I I just couldn't concentrate. Like I didn't know how stepping on the snow and ice would like what to expect when I stepped, and
Yeah.
I couldn't concentrate. And we got about halfway up, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm done."
Snow and ice is kind of I found from doing mountaineering sort of activities with other people, and John loves to bring people up and teach them how to French step. That's probably one of his favorite things to do.
Yeah,
But just from growing up in Michigan, and which is buried in snow, it's not, I mean it's different because in Michigan you're not on slopes and stuff, but it's just I've just found that just my experience of being in the winter weather for so much of my life, that it isn't as I don't think easier is the right word, but it's easier for me to adapt to it.
yeah.
But when it's 104 and I'm trying to hike, I'm very suffering a lot, and I don't know what I've gotten myself into,
And
which is
then that kind of stuff
Texans.
is
Yeah,
it bothers me, but not that much.
yeah, Texans probably
We
would
would
be very
laugh. We would
yes,
laugh at those temperatures.
yeah.
So, and kind of talking about that, what are
Hmm.
some? Do you have any misconceptions about hiking or backpacking that you often debunk with other hikers? Like for me,
Um,
it's an example I've used in almost every episode because I really like this question, so I like asking it.
mhm,
In Texas, you don't need a hiking boot. You just need trail runners or a tennis
mhm.
shoe, something
Oh
comfortable.
yeah.
Now, if you're going off trail at Guad or Big Bend, then certainly you would need a hiking boot or it would help. But do you have
Mhm.
any kind of anything that
Um,
you either I don't know corrected people's thoughts
yeah.
on or
I think a lot of people, especially when they found out that I've long done long sections of the PCT and like by myself, which means something different, I think, to them than it means to me. But something that commonly people ask is, "Were you scared?" And I'll be like, of what?" Like, is there something specific? I remember once at Mount Hood at the ski resort there, this family was talking to me and they're like, "Aren't you scared?" And then I was like, they didn't say what I was supposed to be scared of, but bears and mountain lions and other hikers and
no?
whatnot. And like those things are all hazards, and you have to be really, um, educate yourself and make the best decisions that you know how, but it's certainly not, in my opinion, a reason to not go out there and try it. And like bears and mountain lions and any wildlife, they're not. I mean, unless you shouldn't be hiking where polar bears are, but
Yeah, polar
unless
bears.
you are, yeah, the polar bears will hunt you and eat you. But
Yeah,
other animals don't. They want to leave you alone. They don't want to. That's their last resort. They don't want to fight with you. You should have a massive amount of respect for them. But and then other hikers. I mean, I'm really fortunate that I was always treated amazing and with respect by other hikers, and I would encourage women to go out and experience our public lands, and I mean, make socially wise decisions, but that you would when you go anywhere. But yeah, I think a lot of people are think there's like this big boogeyman that's out there that's gonna get you,
yeah.
but it's the world is really
Yeah,
amazing.
so basically, is I think what I'm getting is that we can all come up with excuses why not to do it, and
Mhm.
just do it. Like
Yeah.
like even with life, like anything that you do, we can come up with a billion reasons why not to, but just
Yeah.
do it. Like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You
Even
know.
just driving down the freeway is really dangerous. So
All right,
you're
so
just in danger. Yeah.
let's say you're I don't know, on a hiking or backpacking trip.
Mhm.
What are some of like we meet you on a trail? What are some of the
Mhm.
essential things that you're gonna have in your pack?
Something I always have is a smart water bottle. I love those. Um, they're they're so lightweight.
You see, there's like 12 of them
Oh
right
yeah,
here
I see
behind
them
me.
right behind you. Yeah. There's
I
60 of
reuse
'em.
these.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're perfect. They're the perfect shape. They're the perfect water bottle. I buy them. Well, I don't buy them too often because I reuse them so much. But
yeah.
yeah, I love smart water bottles for hiking. They're way better than. They're like the cheapest, best water bottle you can buy. Um, the other thing that I always have is GCI makes this little pot scrubber. Well, it's like a tiny end of a spatula, but it's for scraping off food off your dish. When if you're
Mhm.
backpacking and you have to do dishes, it's so helpful to get, especially when you're eating out of the same bowl every day. You
Yeah.
can really like get all the crumbs out. And I even have one in my normal kitchen at home in
Oh,
my silverware drawer. I bought another one. And when there's like a pot or something and you just need that one and the sponge won't do it, that thing is like amazing. They're only
oh,
like five
really?
bucks at REI. Yeah,
So
I
you
always
got
have.
smart water bottles, Sawyer
Mhm.
squeeze, the scraper.
Yeah. Yep. I really like the Sawyer squeeze. That's what I always use on the PCT. I haven't bought a Sawyer in a long time, but they used to come with those blue bags that they
Yeah,
make, and we would cut the top off of one of the bags, and then you can use it to scoop water, and then you can pour it into the water bottle. It makes it a
yeah.
lot easier because
Oh, okay.
sometimes if you don't cut the top off, it's really hard to get water into the little like water bottle nozzle.
And I think it's not a nothing like to debunk, but like
Mhm.
I want to start a movement for people to stop using water bladders. Like
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
like like I just want to hike with someone that has a water bladder. I want to take out my knife and I want to poke their bladder, and then I want to say, okay, now what are you gonna do? All your
Yeah,
water is
that's
in
true,
one
whatever is
bag.
spilt. Yeah.
It leaks. It could get punctured.
It
There's
can
no
get
way
all your
you could.
stuff wet.
Yeah, and okay, you can put duct tape on it, but I want to
Mhm.
refill it. Okay, how are you going to filter the water out that you're going to refill it?
Yeah.
Like smart water
Yeah.
bottles and Trucker
Yeah.
Joe water bottle sleeve holders.
Mhm.
Because they hold the water here and man.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm starting a movement. No water
No
bladders.
more water bladders.
So is there anything else that you
Okay.
think is important in your day
Um,
pack, backpacking
Day
that,
pack, backpack. Those are the big ones for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
In your day pack, do you take a headlamp?
Well, in Washington in the summer, it gets light out really early and stays light out really late. So only if there's like a real risk that if something happened, you'd be out late. But like this morning, we went hiking and we started at like 7
Mm-hmm.
a.m. and we were only going 4 or 5 miles down the trail, and so I didn't bring a headlamp because, well, and also there was bailout points too, so it just depends. But
What
yeah,
about
if yeah.
phone charger?
Not in a day pack. I put
No.
my phone in airplane mode usually,
Mm.
and I just
That
take pictures
that's
with it.
that's important. To
Mhm.
all the listeners, if you are hiking, put your phone on airplane mode so it's not wasting the battery and always trying to find self
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah, it'll kill the battery. And then I don't really use it for tracking. I just use it for taking pictures.
Yeah,
But John, thankfully, I have John who loves GPS tracking and maps, and he also loves solar power and portable batteries, and so
yeah.
I don't have to worry too much about that stuff.
What advice would you give to any new hikers, backpackers? Someone that's maybe beginning that wants to get
Oh.
into the to our hobby.
You can get out and experience it. Like you don't have to buy all the fancy stuff from REI for your first hike.
You don't
Like
have to get
you don't have to
Patagonia.
get no. They make a lot of nice stuff, but you don't have to have it.
I think what's
Yeah.
really important to me, when we kind of talk about new hikers and backpackers, and it's what we said already before is, we can always come up with a billion ways and a billion excuses not to do it. Just go do it. And like you said
Mhm.
before, you don't need to invest a whole lot of money. You can just do a neighborhood hike. You don't even have to carry
Yeah,
water. You don't have to have a
yeah,
backpack. You just get out
yeah,
walking and
yeah,
and then as you get into it, you can invest. You can use Facebook Marketplace, REI Garage Sale,
yeah,
and
for
get some
sure.
really good deals on stuff and
Yeah,
really get into or the hobby.
yeah,
So yeah, I
yeah,
always push people just to go do it.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
get
definitely.
out there.
Yeah, the experience of being out in the wilderness is better than any gear that they have for sale. So
Mm.
definitely go. Yeah, check it out.
And what I think, as we kind of start to wrap this up, I
Hmm.
definitely want to touch on you have a kind of went into a new direction of hiking, and
Yeah,
that's with the famous, the legend Rio. And
real.
for all our listeners,
Yeah.
Megan has a horse now. And how long have you
Uh
had
huh.
Rio? About 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah, 3 years. It
Yeah.
will actually July 1st would be 3 years that he's been my pony.
And this
Um,
horse
yeah,
is probably one of the only horses that I've looked at. I don't know what the right word is, but he is so striking. So he's
yeah,
like white and black, and he's got the ocean blue eyes. And I wish
yeah,
I could show a picture of him,
yeah.
but he is spectacular looking. So how did you get
Thanks.
into hiking with a horse?
Hiking with a horse. Well, first I found the horse.
Yeah.
JD, my stepdaughter,
Hmm.
is a big horse girl.
She was
Was when
jumping
she was
horses,
little.
right?
She
Or
was a
whatever it's
jumper.
called. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I am a little scared of jumping, which is very entertaining to Janie. But she's a very brave jumper. And so we had her out doing horse lessons, and then Rio had been a breeding stallion in not too far from here, and then he got sold because his owner got hurt and couldn't take care of big horses anymore, and so he ended up in a situation of someone that wasn't feeding their horses, and they got all of their horses taken by the state, which actually was only about a few miles away from my house. But he got put in like a foster home for 6 months, and then he came to Janie's boarding barn. And they were gonna do lessons with kids because Rio's fairly short. He's the tallest height you can be and still be a pony, because a
Mm.
pony is just a shorter horse. And so he's the maximum height for a pony, but he's not quite the height of a horse. So they were gonna let kids ride him because he's short, but he actually hadn't had very much experience with training and riding. he's really gentle and sweet, but he doesn't have a lot of experience, and so I just adored him from the moment I saw him because he looks just like a horse that I had when I was a little girl that was
Hmm.
also black and white. I thought I was actually just watched the movie Lilo and Stitch, that old Disney movie, and they're picking out Stitch at the dog pound, and he's like an alien, but the little girl is like in love with him, and the dog pound lady's like, "We have better dogs," and she's like, "Not better than him." That's how I always felt about Rio. I
Yeah.
still feel that way about Rio. And so anyways, they decided to offer to let me adopt him instead of them themselves carrying on with that. And so we did a little horse training, and then I made a friend that wanted to go trail riding, and we were going to go on a trail camping trip, and she asked me she had a general area where she wanted to go, and she asked me like specifically in that area if I had any requests, and I was like, the Pacific Crest Trail would just be a dream if we if we're anywhere near there and we can just touch it with one hoof, like that
Yeah.
would be a dream. And so my friend Kelsey is the way that I got to start trail riding as an adult, and then we've been on two each summer for the last 2 summers. We've been on a horse camping trip.
So you get Rio, and to
Hmm.
the listeners, like, you spent a lot of time with Rio, training
Yeah,
him, and not
yeah,
training him because I think, like you said, he was already a chill horse, but
yeah,
to me, it seemed like enrichment programs for him where he's not just
yeah,
stuck in a barn just bored. Like, he was doing a
yeah,
lot of really cool stuff.
yeah.
And did you like kind of ask him like, "Are you cool with me sitting on your back and you like hiking and you doing all the work, carrying the backpack and or like
Yeah,
how did you
he
know that he would be okay with it?"
so one of my friends, when she describes Rio, she says, "At least you never have to wonder if he's mad at you because he's very direct.
Oh
If he's
yeah,
not happy with something that you're doing, he's not mean, but he'll put like he has to wear a mask on his face to keep the flies out of his eyes, and he has a pink nose, so it has to cover his nose so it doesn't get sunburnt. And when you put the mask on him, it's like hard to get it on because his ears are back so far that you like can barely get the mask over his ears. So he's very, very expressive, and he's never really liked arenas, riding in the arena. He's really good at groundwork, which is when you're doing a different activity, which is when you're not riding the horse and you're like teaching them to go over an obstacle or walk sideways or something with you on the ground. He's
yeah.
really excels at that. But yeah, he's very, very expressive, and when you take him out on a trail, he just like lights up, like ears forward. I took him on a trail ride 2 weeks ago, I think, and because it was our first trail ride of the year, he was really excited, wanting to go, and I was having to ask him to not trot for the first 5 miles.
Holy crap!
He was like, I want to go for 5 miles," and so, and I mean, like by the end of the summer, we were like the excitement level was at an all time high, being the first ride, and so we were kind of, going as only going faster when I ask him to, because that's important. But yeah, he really trails and exploring, and he's really brave. Like at the first barn that we lived at, there was llamas at the other end of the property that were owned by the neighbors, and when he always would want to get closer and go see the llamas, and the llamas would be like spitting at us.
Oh crap!
Thankfully, they didn't quite get us, but if it was up to Rio, he definitely would have gotten close enough for the llama to spit on us. So he loves to you can horses aren't vocal at all, but they might even be more expressive than dogs. And when he's out camping, and he loves to get in the trailer. At first I had to really work with him on confidence and just trusting me and getting in the trailer. And then this winter we had to work on not invading my space because he's so excited to go get in his trailer. So
Oh, okay.
so yeah.
So how was the very first trip you took him on the trails?
Um I was really nervous because it was my first time hanging out with my friend Kelsey and my first time taking Rio anywhere, so I didn't know what he was going to be like. But we rode on do you guys have rails to trails? Where it used to be a railroad and now they take the
Yes.
railroad out
Yeah,
and
yeah.
let you have a trail. So we did that and there was cow pastures that we rode by and he did great and we rode over bridges and he did great and he stayed with he gets along with everybody's horse. And so yeah, I was nervous, but he did really, really well. And so it was a from the start.
Did you ever
Uh,
take him on the PCT?
I did, yeah, 2 times. The first time we went camping was at Wallop Lake which is in it'll come to me.
Was it meaningful knowing that you
Yeah,
hiked the PCT and
yeah.
now you have Rio on the
It,
PCT?
yeah, it's in the Gifford Pinchot National Forest. And we the PCT, just by nature of being the crest trail, is pretty high in elevation. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to go to it, and I looked at the topo map, and I was like, it'll be all right. And it was like quite steep. Like it was as steep as anything John and I would hike together. Like it was
Oh.
really, really steep. And Rio did a really amazing job, but like I wasn't prepared for that, and he physically wasn't. I mean, he was okay. Like by the time we got home, he was like cantering, like he was fine. But it was a stress, like it was a workout for him. But Kelsey was ahead of me by about I don't know. I could hear her, but I couldn't see her because the trees were too thick. But she was like, we're on the Pacific Crest Trail. I found the sign," and I heard her say that, and Rio was like, "I'm all done now." He just stopped. He's like, "I
Oh,
live
really?
here. I don't want to go anymore."
So what do you do then?
Well, I got off of him because I'm not gonna sit up. I don't really like to kick him in any circumstance, but I'm especially not gonna sit up there and do something like that. So I got off, and then I got a carrot and hold it in front of his nose and pull the reins forward and try to get one step, and then I give him a break, and
Right.
then slowly, kind of like it's gonna be all right, but like we can't. I mean, he had to go somewhere.
Right.
And going back down actually would have been further than just going forward. So then when we actually got to the PCT, by then he was all better. He just had his little moment that we all have, but Rio especially can have them sometimes. Yeah, I was like Kelsey was first, so she couldn't see me, but I was like so overwhelmed with emotion that I was like ugly crying because it was so special to me that I got to share that place with him, you know?
Yeah.
And that especially because I was kind of learning as I go how to train horses and he was kind of like I've been treated kind of bad by people lately and I'm not real sure I want a person in my life.
Yeah.
And he was really opening up to me and I was really, trying my best to be worthy of his trust and then to get to do something so cool with him was it was like really a special thing.
And
Yeah.
when you guys are out there with the horses and camping,
Mhm.
I mean, there's wildlife out there.
Yeah.
I mean, how, like mountain lions or coyotes or something,
Yeah.
would they mess with the horses? You think?
I don't think so. A coyote for sure wouldn't. Oh, I don't. The thing about horses is their footsteps are really loud in the woods. Like,
Yeah.
because at the horse camp, we would be making dinner, just like how you would at any camp, just hanging out. And when the riders were coming through, you can hear them a long time before you can see them because the
Yeah.
footsteps of the horses are so heavy. And so I think that any mountain lion or anything would hear and would probably. I don't think I've ever heard of a mountain lion attacking a horse with a rider on it.
Yeah.
They attack them at pasture, but um, uh, yeah, I'm not exact. There might be grouse. There's some kind of bird that will kind of make this really big loud noise. It's in the bushes and you won't know it's there. And then when you walk by it, it'll be like whoomp, and it'll be this big noise and moving, and that scare the horses will jump a little bit. But it's just horses really thrive um on building a relationship and confidence with them, and so once they trust you there'll be a lot, um I mean, things can always happen, it's inherently risky, but, the more experiences you can share with them, like, the more trust they'll have in you, and so you can definitely it's definitely navigatable to
No.
bring them out there, yeah.
So you think this will take over then just kind of you walking, hiking, like just this
It is nice
equestrian?
having Rio to carry me.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Or do you think
I
you'll still be doing both or
I think I'll do both.
yeah.
I'm planning on doing both this summer. John and I are hoping to hike the Wonderland Trail, and Rio and I are planning on going to White Pass with Kelsey, and we also have a few other things planned. And so I think I'd like to get John on a horse one day, and that would be fun. Um,
He can ride
but
Arthur.
yeah,
I
he
don't know.
might go.
I would, but he
Yeah,
can.
yeah. I don't know if I would either, but yeah, it'd be cool to share that. It'd be something that would be really special to me to get to share that with him someday. And so yeah, I think it's a cool blend of both. I think that my previous hiking experience is really helps my horse camping experience,
Yeah.
and then I've gotten certified in horse first aid um
Oh
because I
wow.
realized there's a whole world of things that I don't know. Like I do know a lot about backpacking, and part of what comes with that is I understand the risk of like how long it's going to take someone to get here, if something happens, and the things grow exponentially when you adding a 950-pound pet to your hiking
Yeah.
situation. And so I felt strongly about being prepared, and I really love learning that sort of thing. And so I'm going to start teaching that this summer to other horse owners. So hopefully that's
Wow.
something I'm really excited about. But yeah.
Now, I like for me, and we're
Mhm.
friends, and we follow each other on all the social medias and stuff. It's
Mhm.
really neat to see the pictures that you and John post about you
Oh
and
yeah.
Rio
Oh
and
thanks. Yeah.
Arthur and
Uh huh.
and
Oh
all you
thanks. Yeah.
guys. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty spectacular, and especially
Thanks.
if I look back at when you started with Rio. I remember the post,
Oh
"Hey,
yeah.
we got
Mhm.
another horse,"
Yeah.
and then you really started writing it and posting the
Mhm.
stuff. Like you guys have come a long way. You and Rio,
Yeah.
the bond,
Thanks.
and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
some of the videos you show up and he's like he sees you and like runs the L to get to you.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, when
pretty.
I call him, he comes running. He really decided to open up and trust me, which is something that is really special to me. The other day, I went out there and he was laying down, and so I sat with him, and he was putting his he put his nose on my shoulder and was snoring on me while he
Oh
was
gosh.
sitting there. And he has to have some antibiotic in his eyes sometimes because the UV light causes it to be a little runny. And
Hmm.
so he lets me put medicine in his eye and stuff. So he's a really
Wow.
good guy. He has this incredible heart. So yeah,
No, no,
he
it's
brings a
it's
lot of
pretty
joy.
spectacular.
Thanks. Yeah.
So so as we start to kind of wrap up, it's
Mhm.
I used to always ask the question about safety, and then Henning said, "Oh, you need to throw in another question about gear."
Mhm.
I know we kind of talked about what was in your backpack,
Mhm.
but if I was a brand new hiker or backpacker and I came to you and just wanted I just need your favorite piece of gear,
My
what should I
favorite
buy?
piece of gear.
What's it going to
Um,
be?
the pot scrubber would be on the list. That's what we talked about. The smart water bottle would be
Yeah.
on the list.
So not a bladder. Don't buy a water
Don't
bladder.
buy a bladder. I don't. Yeah, I'm not really into the
Mhm.
bladders either. I agree with you on that one. Maybe the first thing I would buy is a pair of hiking shoes just to protect your feet because that's what's going to get the most um wear. But I mean, also you don't feel like you have to have the fanciest ones, but just like a
Yeah.
solid pair of
Something
tennis
comfortable.
shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
I think
yeah, something that's comfortable for you. Yeah, that's a good first investment.
and I think that is
Um,
the absolute most important it's what takes the most beating when we're hiking and
Mhm.
backpacking is your feet. And if you don't have a nice
Yeah.
pair of comfortable shoes,
Yeah.
you're in trouble. Blisters,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
All right. So last
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
What is one piece of safety advice that you would give to any new hiker and or backpacker? And like for
Yeah.
me, so for Lori, she's like, don't split up, stay together, never split up. Don't, and then she would
Yeah.
say, don't hitchhike, you know, because I've been in
Yes.
trouble for splitting up. I've been in trouble for hitchhiking.
Yeah.
Um, and like I think safety wise for me
Yeah.
is God, I think something important is outside of like having gear for charging your phone, keeping it charged, but like
Mhm.
being proficient with apps, map, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
hiking
That's a
apps like
big
All
deal.
Trails, Gaia,
Mhm.
um, Backcountry Navigator, Maprika. Just be good at three of them. Like one
Yeah.
super good, one where you understand it. Because like sometimes I will forget to download the offline map, and so then I go to another app, and then like I'm able to do certain things with it because of the subscription that I have that I didn't have with this one. So like have three of them: one that you're really good, one that you're proficient in, and then one that that you can navigate around. So what do
Mhm.
you got? What is
My biggest safety advice is don't be too quiet in the woods. Even if you're by yourself, make some noise. If you're
yeah,
with someone else, talk, because that's the number one way that you're gonna alarm an animal, and alarming it is the um most likely way that it's gonna physically interact with you, which is
yeah,
what we all don't. The animals don't want that. We don't want that, but um yeah, just don't be too quiet. Just make sure you even a common thing. Well, I mean, but if you're around bears, a common thing people do is yell, hey bear," like every 30 seconds.
yeah,
But just make sure you're not going fast and quiet is the most kind of dangerous way to move through the wilderness because that's when you're gonna sneak up on stuff.
yeah, yeah. And I wish I would have
Yeah.
had that piece of advice when I was at Caprock and rounded a bush.
Yeah.
I was in
Oh,
quiet
yeah.
mode, and there was a
Uh-huh.
bison two
Oh, yeah.
feet, 3 feet in front of me, and we both
Oh, boy.
scared each other.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I definitely, I think
Yeah.
you're 100% correct on that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the faster you go, the more noise you need to try and make for sure.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
yeah, and even John's had a couple of bear
Yeah.
bear
He has,
stories,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and they're hey bear, hey bear.
Yeah, he's good at yelling, "Hey, bear."
Mhm.
He's on it. So,
All right, well, I want to. This is the longest episode. We're at 3 hours, so we'll break this up into three different
3
parts.
episodes.
And
Yep.
I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day, your Memorial
Oh, yeah.
Day, and
Yeah, of course.
joining the podcast. I was really excited that
Oh,
you
thank
were,
you.
able to join. And for sure, if you kind of look at your experience, and if you look at like the most dangerous hikes in America, you've done probably three or four of the top 10,
Yeah.
and you live to tell about it.
I would. Yeah,
So
well, yeah, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
Oh, I appreciate so much that you asked me to be a guest and that it's been really special to get to look back on because sometimes it feels like a patchwork that doesn't all make sense, but in some ways it really does. And it's my 10-year anniversary of hiking the PCT this summer, so it was
Oh
really
wow,
special to get to look back of like what was that experience like and where has it led me now, and that was really a neat thing to get to do personally, and it's really meaningful that I get to share it with you and your listeners, and that's just really an honor, so thank you.
absolutely. And I think also like what we talked about a little bit is how much hiking and backpacking can change you for the positive. Like times you believe that you can't do something. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you were not a hiker and backpacker, and you did the PCT. Like
Yeah.
you flew down, started in
Yeah.
Mexico border, and
Uh-huh.
like that's crazy, and that should
Yeah.
inspire other people, no matter if it's hiking, backpacking, whatever it is, rocket ship
Yeah.
building. Just do it.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, for
No,
sure.
like you fell at it, but that's okay. At least you tried.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no, that's awesome, and thanks again. And I didn't mean to take up 3 hours away from John and Memorial Day, but again, thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining the podcast. And again, I greatly appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Oh yeah, thanks again so much for having me.
Absolutely. And that wraps up another exciting episode of the Trailblazing Texas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode today, and stay tuned for our next episode where we will pick back up where we left off and guarantee to uncover many more hiking gems and share many more tips to enhance your experience on the trail. Until then, happy trails and happy hiking.